Real, my bro.
What it do?
You know, you already know.
Hold on, I gotta fix I got a little situation. I gotta, you know what I mean? Oh,
Nah, I feel you.
mm-hmm. Boom, boom, boom. Mm-hmm. My levels is better.
The levels is good. The levels is good.
Yo, rough,
The
rough
levels is
week.
good.
Rough
What you
week.
say? Rough week.
Rough week.
Rough week coming like starting off the week is a rough week, or you reminiscing on a rough week of past.
We lost the dog, man. We lost the
But
dog.
that's fact. That's fact. We did lose a dog, man. It's unfortunate. And you know what? You know what else? Even more unfortunate.
What?
The same day we lost the dog, lost probably 100,000 or 1,000 other black men and women just like him. Not like him in regards to being X, but in regards to being attached to somebody and being loved by somebody. X is loved by a lot of people who don't necessarily know him. But if you're a family member and you lose somebody the same day as X, the brevity of that feeling is just as much as it is for anybody else. And
Brevity.
I think we lose that a lot of times. Like I love X and I think about his family.
It sounds like you ain't love X like I love X though.
Now I do love X, but at the end of the day, with the same time X was happening, my cousin passed away, right? So like I rock with X. I don't know X personally. You understand? So, having to handle those things at the same time. And I think a lot of people are like that, specifically during COVID. A lot of people's proximity to death has been a lot closer. I know that personally, and I know that's been the same for everybody else. But I rock with X. Come on, man. Like, it's sad, but ultimately, like, X probably right where he needed to be, man. You know what I'm saying? X was by all strengths of the imagination, a fallen angel. You know what I'm saying? Saved a lot of lives, did a lot of gospel. So I think he right. I think he had where he belonged. The sadness be for the people left behind because we be thinking that it was supposed to be a certain way, or what if this didn't happen? But ultimately, bro, the design is already divine. It's already, you know what I'm saying? Like, not to say it's easy, but you see my background. I see my mom every day. But I also know that, like, damn, like, it's divine. She with the Most High right now. That's just what it is.
I hear you. I hear you. So you saying, let's keep perspective on this thing.
Yeah,
That's what you
word, man. I think that's what X. I think X and most people who do God's work in the wake of their passing, they want that to, saying to continue to excite change and push the pendulum forward. I think anybody who moves like X, that does the groundwork, but also shares these demons with the world. Yeah,
uh-huh. Yeah, I think that's what distinguished him from, you know, I get what you're saying. It is important to really pay attention to how much you giving your energy to people you don't even know.
hmm
I also think it's important to distinguish those who you don't know them, but it's almost even more powerful that they can have such an impact on you. Uh, I think what DMX brought in terms of energy and authenticity, it's just a very rare thing. He didn't have to ever rap. He didn't ever just his honesty, his earnestness. It was just a very rare thing. So I think I don't think we'll understand it until, I was reflecting on Dante's The Divine Comedy or the Inferno, where a lot of people get their conception of hell from, right? And when he wrote that, he wrote it in kind of colloquial Italian, like, how we talk, like how Strays is written. Like he wrote the Divine Comedy like that. It's almost like a rap. It's like a rap. It really is like a rap. It rhymes and it's in his. Everyone was like, you should write it in Latin or whatever will get you some bread. Standard English for us. But he wrote it in the language of the people, and his idea of hell resonates to today. You know what I mean? And I feel like DMX had a similar type of magic. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think about when we used to watch, backstage, bro. Like, and you got to see that man walk in the crowd, bro, and just that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
when that kid spit a freestyle for him,
he gave him the remote
he
control
gave him
car.
his remote control car right there, like, yo, he was, oh yeah, man. Oh, my fault, D. Let me see. Add you to the screen.
But if you pay attention to DMX, if you were a fan, if you pay attention to DMX, and you learned from him. You know what I'm saying? He easily could be a master educator. You frame that. You listen to his story, and you had a similar background or whatever. You know what I'm saying? He gave you gems, he gave you lessons.
Yeah. What types of games is being played?
Word.
Yo, D, my bad, fam. I'm just trying to respect your privacy. I don't know if you okay.
Cool, man. Be backstage. Yeah, I'm good.
Right. Yeah, man.
And I think we talk about X, talking about black leadership. You talking about I think X was one of the few that were able to monetize his struggle, though he didn't necessarily capitalize because he didn't have a wealth of knowledge at the very beginning in regards to contract and stuff like that. But like he had mega success just living in his skin. And I think that's some of the biggest lessons that I think that he gave to people. But now, like this past week, Puff put a statement out. As I transfer to like black leadership from the X starting point, like Puff came out with a statement about supporting black and buying black and something as it relates to like being black and and then Tamika Mari, she a statement. She sends over like when you're dealing with her business entity, she sends over like a contract of like what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. In regards to the meeting with her corporation, and so it was published. It was very matter of fact, but it was very business-like. So she's been getting some flack for that. And then lastly, Tamika Mari.
Yeah, what she? I mean, I'm very familiar with her. I was in the same camp for some time. Like, what did she say about business?
No, well, it's like if they come over, if you deal with Tamika's business entity, because she started her own joint. So
okay, I thought she was with the social justice.
I mean, she's still in that space, but she has her own entity, and so it got sent out to whom it may concern, a prospective candidate or client for her services, and it was very matter of fact, and people were giving her flack for that, and lastly, the leader of the Black Lives Movement, I forget her name, but it was just reported that they made $90 million last year, and she spent somewhere to $2 million on properties throughout the country. And so my question is, after saying all of that, is that shouldn't black leaders be able to monetize that leadership? And what are we saying? What are we saying about some of these people who have great messages and also have great voices? Like, is this us trying to hold them accountable? Like, are they not supposed to make money off of something that they've created to create change that they own or they started and now they're able to monetize it? Is that a bad thing? In regards to leadership, X was a leader. X monetized through his music, right? He got on the stage and he had followers. He didn't have to follow the same social codes and cues. But why are people upset about Puff coming out with a statement about supporting black people? He black. He got a school. right? Why Tamika Mallory can't give a specific contract for her services without being the community treating her like a leech or an outsider. She's part of the community. So I'm just confused and conflicted on leadership as it relates to education, because I always think about as a leader, you're a leader in the classroom, and so if you're an educator and you're a black educator more specifically, and you're seeing all that's going on, does that make you tentative to educate?
Don't call me black, man. I'm light bright.
All right, my fault. I want to stop saying black because it's black for color.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But I really do want to stop saying black. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yo, ooh, this is gonna get thick. Okay.
James, you see Williams? Somebody named Dwight. Is he in the wait?
Yeah,
the backstage?
but he keeps popping on and popping.
Oh yeah, probably on the phone. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to plug him, but yeah. So I think you're raising a good question. For those who just joining us, first we reflected on DMX and his impact on us, and now we're shifting into conversations about Black leadership and being able to finally be compensated for the work that we're doing. But my humble opinion is, if you're asking the question, then you're not going to be compensated, period. Like that, unless you're taking an approach where you have it laid out why you should be paid, how much you should get paid, what work you're doing, unless you're the one creating your job description, then you're very far off of the point of compensation. Because think about that. You letting somebody else tell you what role you play in something that, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's supposed to be your thing in the first place. Like, you're a Black leader in a Black community. You letting somebody else tell you what that's worth, what your job. Oh, there's William. There he is. So that's my humble opinion. If you're not involved in the creation of the job, you're not really going to get the cut that you deserve.
Well, should you get paid when the mission is completed? I guess people, they feel like that mission.
Say again?
All right, so it's like $2 million, right? So I guess people are upset because the mission is not completed. We didn't get that far with the Black. That's what I'm thinking that people are getting upset about. So
yeah,
to be compensated $2 million this soon, we just started. That probably raises like a red flag for some people.
But to me, the red flag is lack of an end goal to that. Like, so like, I'm not mad at her because nobody made her give them a start date of mid-date where we're going to be in 10 years. She wasn't asked that, and so and she came at a great time, and she monetized the movement in a way that, not to say that she's not being progressive, but also she's like, yo, I made a business, and now I'm going to get paid.
I'm still not convinced that Black Lives Matter was created by us, like, I still don't see the connection. Like, where did all the bread come from in the first place? And how was it so strategically placed? And why wasn't there like a powwow to get together to say, like, Black Lives Matter is really where we starting? Like, is that really where, like, would Malcolm X would Martin Luther King be okay with Black Lives Matter as a starting point? Like, that's our rallying cry, Black Lives Matter? That doesn't seem like that would. I'm still not convinced. I've been wrong before, so I'll take that. But nobody's show me some receipts.
So I think it's of course all calculated, but but in regards to leadership, like I think about COVID that's happening. I think about a lot of the time we're talking about how is education going to look next year, and what are we going to have to do for students to have them opt back in. And I was thinking, like, yo, what are you going to have to do for these teachers? Because these teachers are who spent this year and a half in COVID, you might have to retrain them to be in person normal again, right? Like what do we put in place to empower teachers? What kind of customized PDs are you putting together to on board, that your teachers come back, you know, in a good space and able to conduct in the classroom like they once did, because that's not a guarantee.
Let me tell you that everyone is going to be fatigued, mental health issues. Now, like D said last week, now you teaching 2 classes. You're not teaching 1 class. You're teaching 2 classes. Like, you know how much energy it takes for me to check in with my students who are like, you forget about them, but they sitting there. They supposed to be a part as much. This is their education too. You know what I'm saying? So you'll have a whole conversation for which is what you want. You want the students talking, engaged, all of that. So I have a whole conversation, and then I realize, oh man, I'm sitting here talking to a student in the back. We don't have a mic in the back. The students on Zoom can't even hear. I'm like, did you hear that conversation? They're like, no. Missed the whole gem. You know what I mean? Rough. So, but you know me, I'm always like, this is still systemically, we talking, it's not coming out of our pot. We still, there's still, you know, house money to some extent. Ooh, I got multiple layers, house money.
What do you mean by house money?
Well, because without us being in part, if we're not a part of the foundation or the actual leadership, then the end goal, you know, public education in America was not established to make sure that young brown faces got the chance to succeed, right? It wasn't built for us. That's not the, you know, we was fresh out. I mean, segregation was, that was built for us.
And I think that's what's confusing to me, because out of all these leadership, as I put the leadership, what that means under a microscope, even as I evaluate myself to those same pillars, it's like all of these movements that are moving and things that are happening, like there's been no real discussion in regards to, like, from what I've heard, in regards to addressing education, like with these platforms that they have. Like we said we're going to defund the police, and you know what I'm saying, and we said we're going to take school safety out, but like nobody who's talking about progression or talking about, like, you know, systemic things, of being like, yeah, okay, well, what are we going to do next? Like, what are we going to do next year in education? Because if the system continues to work how it's been working, think about, and we said this before, how many kids are going to be under the foot of disciplinary actions throughout the whole entire year because these new imposed rules, and you know what I mean? Like, what about the kid who just don't want to wear a mask, right? And that's upgraded to like whatever's going to be upgraded to. Now the kid is getting suspended because he don't want to wear a mask and he's just a kid, but now because he's black, bang, he's up out of there. And so like, we're like, what are we putting in place? Why are we not talking about these? Because these codes are still in place. When kids get back in the building, they're gonna be suspended again, right? And so they're gonna be left at home. And now are we saying that, well, kids shouldn't get suspended? We should just take suspensions out of, you know what I'm saying, out of play, because now that we have Zoom, kids don't gotta miss school. Kids don't gotta get suspended. Like I don't hear nobody really talking about like education, and I hear them talking about like, yo, this is why I messed up, my kid not learning, but not necessarily troubleshooting like what's around the curve. Like, you think that this year is crazy, right? Next year is gonna be nuts.
They're all being promoted too. No one's left back, man. So the kids miss 50 days, 60 days, and still going to next grade. The kids that miss 20 days are still going to next grade. Kids who didn't do any work, failed, they still being promoted. So you're gonna have a gap. Academics too, man, a huge gap.
I mean, I don't know if the gap is going to be as big than it's been before, because in all reality, they've been doing it. That's why it's not a big deal. They'll figure it out. They're like, yo, we've been doing it. That's why it's not a big thing for them, for the system to be like, yo, they can whip past everybody, because you guys they've been doing that for forever, right? For the outside,
because I had kids that didn't come to school when we went in person. Now in person, these kids were getting 90s and they were good students, but when they're at home, they didn't do anything. So did you think it's going to be a bigger number, or be you say the same thing as far as like being voted and put through?
I don't know. Honestly, I just know that for me, the thing that's most apparent is that the narrative of, like, you know, this is like, it's so crazy because they told people this, know, so it's like, yo, this is people are outraged, but ultimately, like, this how the system always works. Like, we all have a personal friend who either played ball or didn't do what he was supposed to do at all, but we all got degrees together and walked across the stage. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, why now is like it's a thing because it's a distraction that we see. Like, yo, we're not talking. What are we distracting about? I don't know, but like, what we really talking about? Passing kids? Come on, like, what are we talking about? Y'all been doing this. I think specifically as teachers, like, it's a conversation that you have to have. Like, what's important to you right now? I was talking to an educator today, and I was just like, yo, she was like, yo, I got midway through the year, and I just had to let go of some things. Some of the things that I was indoctrinated with as a teacher, I had to really let go of them things because it was making me sick. Imagine that. Like, you could find by your passion so much that it is physically taking a toll on your body. And you've been told this is how to educate.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is, I think it was a blessing that I was forced to come back here and start all over and substitute and everything I said I would never do again.
Hmm.
Because I really had to learn how to respect what happens in the classroom and like what it takes to teach every day, like the lesson planning and all of that. I didn't really respect it. It's a lot. But there's a large portion of it, unfortunately, is unnecessary. It's like you're basically giving. How do we enforce homework? Well, we make the teachers do homework. So your homework as a teacher is grading and lesson planning, and you have to do it. And it's like, so you have no problem forcing that student to do homework, but in reality, you don't know anything about that student's life. So a lot of students shouldn't be forced to do homework. It's just crazy. Um, but I think the deeper issue for me is this lack of equity in the conversation that we're having. Like, we don't really have, this is not, it's almost like we're talking about the budget for private prison systems. We're talking about how the budget gets spent on the inmates. I think we have a bigger problem, which is like, we shouldn't be the inmates. There shouldn't be the private prison industrial complex, and I think education largely has missed the ball on people of color. I mean, maybe it hasn't missed. Maybe it's hit the mark on its
Yeah.
intended goal. But what I'm saying is, as people of color, our effort probably we should be creating an ecosystem for ourselves. Like, this is what I mean to say. Black Lives Matter, I don't know where that came from. As an educated Black man, I should know that. It's not that I don't do the research. It's that I'm sitting here like, okay, so from what I understand, there's conflicting narratives, which means you didn't nail the messaging or you didn't want to or whatever. What was the other one? Black Lives Matter, defund the police. How is that actually your rallying cry? That like psychologically, you're really not executing. Like, you're really missing. Black Lives Matter and defund the police means I'm completely disconnected from what you're talking about. Like, it has, like, what? Of course, Black Lives Matter. Like, what do you mean defund the police? Like, I'm not just. I like to consider myself educated. I'm lost. So just imagine somebody else who didn't, who don't have a $500,000 education. Like, I'm lost. I'm literally lost. Like, what do you mean Black Lives Matter? What do you mean defund the police? I don't get it. Like, that don't speak to me at all. You know what I mean? I feel like it's so many people fronting like it does speak to them. Like, yeah, Black Lives Matter. Like, yo, we've been new Black Lives Matter. That's not something we feel like we have to tell people. Like, we don't even understand what defund the police means. Like, you mean, like, what, you know what I'm saying? You can't really, I'm just tired of people fronting like they understand what's going on. Like, I don't get it. Like, I really don't get it. Like, somebody gonna have to explain to me what it means. Oh, am I glitchy?
It's like off.
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, it's just I feel like the bigger problem is too many people fronting like they understand what's going on. Like these movements are huge. These movements, yo, they just killed another kid. You seen it? 20 years old.
Accident,
Huh?
but
Say again?
they said the police went taser, thought it was that. I mean, thought there was a taser and shot. But I don't. This is a whole nother.
I mean, but that's where we at though, right? Because this time last year, everybody was kumbaya holding hands, and we finally understood the struggle of the black person in America. And then that quickly just people forgot all about George Floyd. Yo, yo, it was crazy. Everybody was, the energy was nuts. Everybody was, we in this together. Like they're not gonna kill another one. Oh, my bad, William. My bad. Let me add you to the
like
brother.
my understanding of the fund the police, bro, is just like the over militarization of the police. They put in a lot of funds into that to police our black community. So what they're saying is defund the police, take that money away from them, and use that same money to invest it in the community. That's my understanding of defund the police.
That's real. That's real. I appreciate that, but that's a crazy, that's a wild way of approaching that particular problem. Like
that is a wild concept.
That's like me saying I want to raise and saying take money from Coach Ian and give me, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's wild.
It is wild. It is wild. And then my understanding of Black Lives Matter, that came back. That was an uprising out of just like how black people been treated in the justice system, and just police overusing their authority, and just feeling like a black life don't matter. I can like shoot a black man, shoot a black woman, a black child, and there's nothing that's really gonna come out of it. So that's my understanding of those two movements, if you will, you know.
Yeah. I think that makes sense, but I don't know. Some part of me is, so when they had the civil rights movement, I'm recalling that one sign that said, "I am a man."
Right.
I am a and that feels like the Black Lives Matter statement, just in a different way.
Right.
But it's like we didn't all get behind the "I am a man" movement. We got behind Dr. King. We got behind, you know what I'm saying? It was like,
yeah. I feel like there's a lot of noise happening outside. Like, what's the direction of Black Lives Matter? Like, what do we want to see happen if we really start going behind or supporting this movement of Black Lives Matter? What do we actually want to see happen if we start supporting defund the police? Do we really want them to start taking money from the police budget and then reinvesting it in the communities? Okay, so what they're gonna invest in the communities? Are we gonna do more sports activities? Are we gonna do more enrichment after school programs? Like, where's the money gonna go? And I personally think that all hoods can have like a technology based, community based program that teach kids how to make a clubhouse, how to make a Facebook, because we as black people, we are super creative. We are like the most creative people on this fucking earth, bro. And we to take that creativity and that intelligence that we're gifted with, to start creating things to make and build economic wealth. Because once we start building economic wealth, that's when they're gonna really black economics. Exactly, Marcus Messiah Garvey, bro, all day. That's what it is.
Yes, sir.
So how does the leadership, these examples of leadership, from what we see optically, like we're breaking it down, but fellow people who perceive themselves as leadership, how is this time looking at what it looks like, framing leaders that will be coming to fruition, and youth that look up to some leaders right now. How right now is the leadership going to impact us in the next 10 years, right?
I go
Because
back to I go back to Malcolm X when he said in the 60s, I believe, he said, man, you talking about black, these aren't leaders. He's like, these are propped up individuals. Look at any other community. Since when did our leaders athletes, comedians, entertainers? He was like, these aren't leaders or people. These are propped up individuals who get paid millions of dollars to fall in line with industry. They are in an industry. How can you lead a people for social justice and you are tied to industry? That was Malcolm X. All right. And I think that was before Muhammad Ali, had his moment. So are they leaders even is my question.
all right, so even that leads me into the perfect. So if you had to say somebody of right now, you was a leader to you, and it's right now, who would be two or three people that, in regards to whatever your perception of a leader is, that's highly visible, who would you be? Who would you choose if you had to define somebody that you thought exhibited great leadership qualities? Maybe not your leader, but was a great leader to his people.
Good question, man.
I gotta keep it a buck, man. Malala is really a leader to me. Like, I follow Malala wherever she go. If you're not familiar with her, you should do some research. She's an ill one. Other than that, man.
You're having a hard time thinking about it.
But I think once you had, that's like asking when you ask people in the black community what their core values are. You're saying it's a mixed bag, but you ask anybody in the Jewish community or whatever, like they all have a set. And it's like when you ask people some specific things, people don't necessarily even have the wherewithal to put words to it because they don't think about it, right? I may say, yo, I don't think somebody's a great leader, but if you ask me, okay, so what's a great leader? I might be like, oh, I never thought about that because I'm only looking at what's wrong. You know what I'm saying? What I think that I could do better, but also just a reflection of my own leadership. You know what I'm saying? So it's a good question to ask and think about. I don't know. What you say?
Who would be your three? Answer the question. Who would be the three leaders you thinking about, or one or two?
Since I didn't say they had to be living. My mom should be one. Two. I'll probably like. I would have to put X in there because like I was, I was very enthralled, from a Hollywood standpoint when I watched the movie. I saw a lot of similarities in my life, but then also as I got older and 12, more into like who he was and everything about it with the government. Like I was like your dad, he was a very resilient brother, and that's true. And then I don't know. I think like if I had to have a third option, it would probably change. I think people have great moments of leadership. They may not be great leaders over the long haul, right? And so I think that third spot would be for people I think that exhibit great moments of leadership, even though they may not necessarily that may not be the space they operate in all the time. Yeah, so my mom and X. And X, I say X in regard like X and thinking about the nation and just in that story, if you know all the things that were happening, it just shows also about Black Lives Matters, but like when it comes to leadership in the Black community, the people who you have to be most scared of is your own kind. If you look at all of the great leadership, I'm saying whatever cooperation the government might have played into it, when it came down to who, who put them in the position to get taken out, is usually the people that live just like them.
Yeah, I didn't know the context of the question. I would agree with you with X. I was always Malcolm X over Martin Luther King for a long time, but now that I really process a lot, I really got to give Martin Luther King his propers. I feel like he he was the voice of something that was very tied to God. I think X had that authenticity. He was so available to change and so strong in his word that, you know, I can't duck what he did. I think two of those together, they, you know, I understand why they had to take them out. I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad for them for taking out X and King. Now that I see what they actually could have did if they was alive, that's whoo. And then I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna put myself in that because I really feel like I lead by example. So I follow myself.
Well, the one I was every day I read the paper. I read an article about a educator like violating and, like, you know what I'm saying, like being in a sexual relationship with a student. Like that's big. Like, all, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think about, like I said, I got three daughters. And so you think about education, there are people who just educate so they could just be prime real estate for young people. And so, yeah, predators. And so I was thinking, like, Jack, like, how this year, if you were a predator in the system, right? If you pretty much had unfiltered access in regards to being able to communicate with your students in ways that are not vetted, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then I think that going into next year, these are issues that are relationships that maybe you that they were Zoom grooming. You know what I'm saying? It was, you know what I'm saying, they've been Zoom grooming some of these some of these students. And I think, as a parent, you gotta just realize that, the stats are, I wrote the stats down because then I started really getting into it. Hold on, where'd I put them joints? 1 out of 10 students will experience school employee sexual misconduct by the time they graduate. 1 in 10, and that's a stat. That's a stat from, 2010. So I'm pretty sure, like, that's without this whole virtual world. And so the fact that I think that you're gonna have these kids back in the building, you got to start to officially vet these educators, and also making sure, like, yeah, these kids are safe. I just don't think they do a good job at it even before COVID. And I think that there are a lot of areas where, it could be tightened up. One teacher offender can have as many as 75 victims, right? One teacher, 75. This is 2010. These are stats from 2010. So, and like, I just think that they don't do a good job of really vetting it, and going back into school. I just think it's something that, as educators and as fathers and parents, you got to watch out for.
Sure.
Zoom grooming. You know what I'm saying? Watch out for the Zoom.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm just saying, that's what it is, bro.
Don't put the butter sauce on that.
Yo.
But you're right. It's something that I like. It's popped up in my consciousness quite often in navigating, like, communicating with students from last year till now. A lot of it is like, is this even, like, I don't even, it'll come from admin or whatever, but I'm like, I'm just the feel of this. Like, if I was a creep, this probably wouldn't, like, I would be, it's a lot of room for opportunists.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think you're absolutely right. It needs to be cleaned up. But I think everyone is just hanging on by, like, the thinnest of threads right now, just trying to, there's so much chaos. It's just pure chaos. I mean, never mind Zoom grooming, you got kids getting snatched up off the street, broad daylight. They're just snatching kids up. Like, this is insanity. Like, child trafficking, sex trafficking right now is kind of brutal, man. Yo, you have you heard about all the kids that's just being sent over to the States from Mexico, South America, but they're coming up through Mexico? Do you know the stats on that? The number of kids without, like, they're just being sent.
How they get to New York and stuff?
How they get into the border?
Nah, like, a lot of kids migrate all, like, New York and different places. How they get there by themselves? That's my question.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of bodies. It's like, how do you have all of these kids just traveling cross country? I was just emphasizing how chaotic it is.
Yo, did they pass a law for teachers to have guns in classrooms?
No, not that I know. But I know in my school we have a cop in our school that's armed. Where I'm at in Georgia.
I just
Would you
keep
put?
a, I just keep a box cutter in my sock.
I don't know if that's approved. I don't know if you could if that's a valid means of protection in a DOE. I think you can only have like handguns and you can't. You know what I'm saying, with the single magazine. I think that's only what's permissible for teachers.
It's cool though. It's from Kronig, so it's not. They think I'm just.
But I also think that the Zoom space has given parents a level of engagement that they never had, which also kind of shifted the paradigm for teachers. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're in
Of course.
class, but my mom is right in the living room together with me,
Yeah.
and she can police my teaching. So I think that maybe it's held some teachers accountable, but I think also it's also been problematic for some educators. And I think that these are things that
Yeah.
you got to think about as you bring people back into the classrooms, man. As you think educators back into the classroom,
Yeah.
and now like the level.
Yeah. Personally, it's been wonderful because I love to have people. The more people involved, the better it is because the better the chance that you'll retain the information and use it. Like y'all might have a conversation over what went on in class at the dinner table or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But you're right. It for a lot of it's not always great.
But I think that, and that's the thing, as a business, I think it was a good opportunity to get parents more engaged, because that's the number one thing that they can't get when the building's actually open, right? That's historically, parent engagement has always been at an all-time low forever, and specifically a black and brown dominated communities. But now you have an opportunity to rebrand parent engagement. You know what I'm saying? Telling, like, if they wanted to, telling parents, listen, go to school with your child for the day. Like ways to make it like to guard a control, but also to bring that back to make it flourish a little bit more back in the building. But yet they didn't do anything creative. They didn't try to use it as an opportunity for engagement, and it's like just another place they dropped the ball.
Are you familiar with did anyone hear of so Elon Musk started he started one school for his kids and kids in the area called Ad Astra, I believe. And then it evolved into another school. But anyways, one of his interview questions for the school was just so rich that I was like, okay, he's not even considering people who aren't like baby geniuses already. Mm-hmm. But why am I telling this story? Oh yeah, what he said was he was like, public education just does a horrible job of teaching students, and his main point was, if you don't show people exactly why they need to learn things, then they're just not going to learn it with any intent, with any like passion. He was like, it's the equivalent of just putting a bunch of tools in front of somebody and saying like they're going to be important at some point. He was like, as opposed to taking an engine apart and then putting it back together with the tools and telling them why, because you could drive the car with the engine, you know what I'm saying? And so he was saying that public education does a horrible job of teaching why we learn these things. And then that got my mind to really turning over the idea of, why do we learn some of these things? Like some of it is just weak. Some of it is not even Like, for example, a lot of the math that students learn, they all think it's pointless. We might say it's pointless. Like, I got a calculator on my phone. Why would I use this math? But it's like, if you want to be a astrophysicist or something like that, that math is absolutely important. So there should be an easy way. Like, how many people actually want to be astrophysicists? Like, do we all, like, how many people actually want to be, like, we should be able to figure that out real fast. Like, why does everybody need to spend all of these years learning math? And then I got to the why. And I realized why everyone has to learn math to such an extent. Huh?
I said to pass the test.
Yeah. To understand your debt. You got to understand your debt.
What do you mean by that? Understand your debt?
You got to understand how much you owe.
Oh, you mean like
so you pay that back?
Yeah.
Also, math is a way of. If I feel like math is this thing that been presented to kids like, okay, you just got to do this because, or you got to do this because you got to pass the test. Whereas I think if the approach is math is something that helps you think critically of the world in terms of numbers, kids are gonna get more bought into it. Like just
Absolutely.
the fundamentals of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Like, why do I need to know these things? Because then I can apply these things to other areas of my life that's gonna help me in the long run, or even in the short term. You know what I mean? And then also making it real for them, like turn division into something that they actually can process or like understand. That to me, that's the shift in thinking that we need to embrace, instead of just being like all about the test, all about the test. That's not a good way of thinking.
You talking about the POD? You talking about point of delivery, right? It's like you got, as an educator, you got to be able, whatever you teaching, in order to make it retainable and attainable. The point of delivery. How are you delivering that message, right? And like you said, if you're a math teacher, you got to make it applicable to something that they're passionate about, right? If you're a teacher, you say here's the math you need to know to pass the test, and I don't have the wherewithal to try to engage you in any other way. If you're an educator, you find a way, right? Ultimately, I think that's what separates the two. Point of delivery, though.
Ben Mook, he got a video on Edutopia. It's got like 60,000 views, and he's talking about authentic assessment. And in the example, he teaches the kids how to get the slope of the back staircase, the back stairs in SOF future. And that's the job. Huh?
It's on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. The company that put it together is called Edutopia, but Edutopia, and then it's authentic assessment, and then it'll be Ben Mook is the teacher's name, Mook. But it's just a great example of math in real life, but it also is still tied to something that's like, well, how many kids are really going to get excited about being a building inspector, So the mathematics has taken a hit. And for a long time, math was like, that was the primo real estate and education. That's what people wanted to learn math because it meant, oh, math, like you boom. Now it's like, bro, I can do this on my phone. Like, if I can't do it on my phone, I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to pay somebody else to do it. Like, so, but I think about which kind of genre of education now is like right for us to execute in. And I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. But math is being treated like a stepchild right now. Everyone's like, yo, what is the point of math? Science is not really too sexy right now either.
Those are probably, if you look at the kids who are struggling, I would have guessed that majority of them is probably going to be in math and science, and then possibly like English or anything like I guess probably overall probably everything because it's, you know what I'm saying, even writing. But if you're passionate about writing, it's like you get it. You know what I mean? If you have a reading competency, a reading competency that you know what I'm saying you can break down, you can answer question, it's not as labor intensive. But math, if you just don't get it, it's just like that's a dub. I'm not dub. That's a dub. Yo, send me my NX. I see you next year. You right? He's like, yo, say I see you next year. That's a dub.
Just a time check. We at the 51-minute mark, and we're gonna have to close it at 1 hour today because I'm on my phone hotspot. It's kind of crazy.
Yo, let me ask you. That's what I wanted to ask too. So we're talking about black leadership, and framed on who we would say would be a leader of today that maybe 30 years ago we would think about. How y'all feel about Kid Cudi's Saturday Night Live performance and address?
What was the reason?
I don't know, but I don't know the reason. I'm just saying, like, somebody looks at Kid Cudi as a leader, right? Somebody thinks he's a leader. If we were to ask that question, we ask each other. You'll get a few Kid Cudis.
Wait, what happened? What happened?
Kid Cudi performed in a dress for Saturday Night Live.
Why?
Exactly. I don't know why, right? But that's to somebody it's okay because he's a leader. So now maybe he's speaking to freedom. I don't know. But in regards to the frame of leadership, how does that look? What do we think kids get from that? What do we think people who are his fans get from that? Because I don't know why.
Well, right? He's an entertainer. He's not a leader. He's an entertainer.
Somebody thinks he's a leader. That's what I'm saying. Like me and you, he may not make our leadership board. But somebody said Kid Cudi's a leader, and they also look for him for leadership. And that's what I'm trying to like. I'm not saying it right, but like somebody look like at Tamika Mallory for leadership as a leader. I look at the Black Lives Matter lady as a leader, and it's like they are framing leaders of the future just by how they're moving. And so I just
What's the Black Lives Matter? What's the Black Lives Matter lady name?
As a fact, but I have it on my phone, but I don't.
Oh yeah, we ain't even say Farrakhan. Farrakhan, come on now. Minister Louis Farrakhan, he been out there. I haven't agreed with all his opinions, but he definitely trying to build a black nation.
Yeah,
for sure. So Kid Cudi's wearing a dress.
Yes, and so
right.
For some people that could be empowering, right? You know what I'm saying? Like that could be empowering. That may empower a young man to feel like he don't gotta be trapped by society's norms. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I mean. Like leadership now is just so different that like that could be him doing that possibly maybe saves a little black boy who's in the closet or who feels like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like that could be an active leadership. Is it not? I don't know. That's what I mean. Like I just don't know what leadership is right now. In what we frame it as in regards to who are our leaders, who are our thought leaders. I mean, we can clearly say who our thought leaders are, I guess maybe, but like when you just speak to leadership, is I think it doesn't necessarily apply. Like who I know the smart one. I like Ian. Ask me like who's the smartest person I know. That's what I mean. Like thought leaders. I know like I can give you some people that are just smart. And I know smart people, and I would be able to tell you. Okay? And so my thought leaders, I would be like, oh yeah, I can tell you like somebody that's smart. You know what I mean? Like or black people that lead that are smart. But I don't think Tamika Mallory is a thought leader to me. She's just a leader, right? A leader of what I'm saying that people follow. And so I just trying to get a grasp on like what is the scale, like what are we, you know what I'm saying, like because I know educators who are also following these leaders, and I also know students that I come into contact with also following these leaders, right? So like what is the metric for what leadership looks like now.
Well, what do you expect from how do you expect a leader to communicate? Like, what are you expecting? You expect, because think about it like this: there could be 1,000 leaders by your standards, but you just haven't heard of them because they can't cut through the noise, because they can't break the news cycle or the Instagram algorithm. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could think of a bunch of people that I follow who are leaders to me, like Mujiji, Seven Bomar, like, but you know, Ralph Smart, but they're mostly spiritual leaders. You know, it's like a lot of people would understand what they're on if they're not in that space. People who are leading for like common folk, you know, that's what you're talking about, like people who could lead a march in the streets.
I just mean like I think I'm just challenging what leader when we say the word, like, you know what I'm saying, like what does it mean now?
The times we living in is
man, what's the my fault? Saying like, are you saying like society picks the leaders to get at, or are you saying because the leader, like you guys are saying, depends on the person though, who you look up to, like the qualities you're looking for, or you saying who can move people? You're asking.
I mean, so if you can move people, you're a certain kind of leader, and then if you can get people to the end goal, that makes you another kind of leader. Like one is like you're like, you know what I'm saying, like task oriented leader, and you're one that's an emotional leader.
Right.
There's two versions. So,
right, so let me ask you then. Is Obama a leader to you?
Obama led. I'm just saying when you speak about presidencies and you speak about, you know, like, you know, I think Obama is a leader. I think people follow Obama, and that's what I mean. Like the construct of leadership. You know what I'm saying? Like, is Obama? Did he impact my life? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He impacted a lot of people's lives the same way he impacted mine in regards to making that a possibility, seeing yourself and holding the highest office in the land. But the same thing with Trump, the same thing with Obama, the same thing with what's the name before him. In regards to the direct effect on my life, you know what I'm saying? Like in a way that was that changed my life. And if I attach what I thought my leadership pillars were the ability to change my life, right? Whether it be emotionally, whether it be spiritual. If he didn't do any of that, then I can argue the case that he wasn't a leader. I don't know if that's part of my pillars of leadership in regards to what I foresee, but he definitely led people. He got people out there to vote. So yeah, he has the numbers. So if you have a certain amount of followers, are you a leader?
But he don't have the authenticity. You never really know what he's thinking.
Is Trump
That's
a leader?
a problem.
Trump is a leader. Some people might say he's probably one of the greatest leaders out right now.
I wouldn't call him a leader. I would call him a businessman. He's a great businessman. Sure.
My point is just that
he knows how to take advantage of situations. He's a master man. That's what he is. He's a master manifester. He knows how to look at something, see how he wants to see it, and then make that happen. Sure.
And so in the building, educators in the classroom, they're leaders, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so I wonder how, especially young educators.
That's what it is. A leader. That's exactly what it is. A leader is a great teacher. That's what it is to me. Mm-hmm. A great teacher. Great teachers are leaders to me. Like, you show me by how you live and by what you say, the resonance of truth in your voice, how some positive possibilities for me to move through life. So even like DMX, with all the darkness surrounding him, he showed you some positive ways to move through it. You know what I mean? He was a creative, even in all that darkness. He was sparking activity.
That was a fire way you just brought it. You just brought it right back full circle at the hour mark. You know what I'm saying? You still good in the clutch. You heard?
Hook 'em and cook 'em.
Respect.
You know what I mean? We could go. I think we good. My Wi-Fi is a little shaky, but whatever.
Yeah, that's just my point, man. Like, it's good to have. It's good to try to figure out what that. You know what I'm saying? Or have even somebody else. Break that down. You broke it down to 3 words, right, Lee? You know what I'm saying? And I think that most people, it would take an hour if you ask somebody to really think about it, because that's what we did. We talked about this for an hour, and in an hour, you said, after getting through, maybe not understand, me not saying it in the way that you understood it, but then getting to my point, it still took us an hour to get on the same wavelength, and then you condense it into 3 words, right? But so I think normal people have to think about that the same way and use the same amount of energy to try to process what a leader is to them, right? Because like you say, you can manifest that in yourself ultimately, but most importantly, you got the words to know how to now put definitive lines in the sand, like on shit you're just not going to do. Because like now like, yo, like that's just not what I'm with. You know what I mean? Like we talked about those core values. Like most people don't even have those. So it was ill that it went full circle. But I just like to think about it with the lens of education, bro. Because like you in a classroom and kids, they gotta listen to you or they gotta be in the room. And now they're gonna feel like, yo, bro, like I didn't have to be in a room with you. And I went a whole year just being able to violate. Now I'm in the classroom. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna violate. Because the worst thing gonna happen is I'm gonna go back to the Zoom room. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you gotta really know how to navigate the classroom next year.
Yeah. Well, also you're gonna have a lot of teachers dropping out because they're like, yo, this ain't the path for me.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
Yo. Yeah. So I mean, it's a lot to process. But I'm glad you asked that question because now I'm really thinking like, wow, I really do think a leader is a great teacher. And that makes it so simple for me. Mm-hmm. Like, if I can't learn nothing from you, I'm not following you. Like, I'm not like, why? That's why I'm like with social media and all of that. I'm like, I'm not following y'all. Like, I apologize if it appeared that way because that's the way it's set up. Like, but I'm not really following y'all. Like, but let me ask you a question, Coach. What did you have for breakfast today, sir?
Coffee.
I respect it. D, what you have for breakfast?
Coffee and cereal.
Together in a bowl? Together in a bowl? Yeah. Coffee cereal?
Not coffee cereal.
I'm about to say that just sound like it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and our school was canceled today because there was something wrong with Google Classroom, man. So we had like 2 kids on for the whole day, man.
Bro,
yeah, my internet is shaky. My internet is worse. I apologize for whatever, but what did I have for breakfast? I had eggs, bacon.
With the Morningstar joint? The Morningstar griller?
Exactly.
Yeah, you allowed to put us on it. The Morningstar grillers is real, you heard?
Yeah. Joints is good.
The Morningstar grillers is fire.
Yeah. That's crazy. I'm sitting here thinking, I think the white got froze out because he's still in the same, it's the same face. So I keep trying to bounce it back. Like it just won't. I don't know. Tech issues, man.
Yeah, what's good? Yo, what's good? Yeah, I think, and I don't know why people trying to give my man Kyrie a problem because he decided that he don't want somebody to call him nigga no more. Just because he used the word before, don't mean somebody could just. If you don't want somebody to call you, you can make that decision. I don't know why. Like, he got that David Schroeder called him and trying to say nigga, and
who said that?
David Schroeder on the Lakers or whatever. Schroeder.
Oh, he's German, bro. He's German.
But he's black though. But anyway,
why Kyrie might have had a problem? I don't know.
I don't know either, but the
He
people
might
were
have said
trying to
it
be like,
funny. He might have said it with a German accent.
but people was like, yo, how Kyrie gonna be tight? We got audio clips of him saying the word again. But it's like, yo, bro, like, why you can't change? Why you gotta say just because he was the old Kyrie dropping an M-bomb? Why you gotta stay in that? Why you can't evolve? And now you talk about, oh, he said it before, so now he can't tell somebody not to call him it. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
It's crazy time, man. But you know, out of all of it, what I get, like I'm just trying to get to the point where I could feel happy about being black, man. Like, and I remember you saying you're gonna stop saying black. What you gonna say, African American?
I don't know, man. I just don't like to be like I'm more than a color. And if I was a color, I feel like I'd be more colorful, bro. I know it
You'd be
sounds.
like mocha chai latte.
I'm not, but I wouldn't just be one thing. I don't think I'll just be like I'll be like a. You know what I'm saying, like I'll be like a. I don't know, man. Like black, I get it, but it's just like how just that color. I just feel like it's not all encompassing. I don't know though,
Yeah,
man. Like
I'm with you.
I said that in front of somebody else that's older than me. They got quiet. I don't know, man. Like I was just like, yo, listen, I just, you know, that was y'all thing. I'm not, you know what I'm saying, like, but I don't know if I just want to be if I just want to be a color. You heard?
Yeah. It probably sit better if you had an actual nation to go along with it. That's the
Yeah, word.
strangest thing. It's the strangest thing as black people. We still paying rent. We still don't have, like, we're still not homeowners, and we don't have a country. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. That's why a lot of people want to go back to African American to reconnect with our true roots. But that's what I thought you meant. But
Yeah, I mean, I prefer, like I said, I prefer that, like, than just being called a color. I think that, you know, again, right? What I don't really know, man. I just be trying to just try to keep it a buck, you know.
I hear
But
that.
the lady got tight of me. She was like, "Yo, listen, don't you know what I mean? You black, say it loud." You know what I'm saying? I was like, all right.
Facts. All right, bro. Any last words? Any last gems?
Oh man. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you, co-creative class. Can you just what is a co-creative class the gold paper?
Co-creative class?
A co-creative class, students and educators. I took a note. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up the note. I took a note.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You're gonna have to give me more reference.
Hold on. It says 2021 has been filled with not so gentle reminders of all that had to change in 2020, 2021. And 2020 felt like the opposite of proportion. If anything, the words that come to my mind were exponential and extraordinary. While most people are hoping to acclimate to a new vaccinated version of old reality, there's a simple matter of cause and effect at play, which has only begun to pan out. I wish addressing compounding public health issues was as easy as one click agreements, but neither society nor human nature works that way. People need to heal individually and collectively. Whether we like it or not, we are entering a new era and it will be colored largely by the extent to which we were giving or not during the Great Meditation. Those who learn to live longer, trust their intuition, and think for themselves will, will quietly create new nations. So what do you mean by like opposition of proportion?
What? Opposition?
Yeah, opposition of the proportion. It felt like opposition of proportion. What do you mean by that?
I said the opposite. The opposite.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Excuse me. The opposite of proportion.
Yeah, because if everything in 2020 felt exponential.
Hmm.
So proportional would be like 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. Exponential is 1 for 10, 2
Hmm.
for 100, 3 for 1,000. It's like whatever he was doing, it amplified, you know?
Hmm. And that's how
So
you feel.
for 2020, for sure. And I think that co-creative part was that you would have to now find ways to allow the students, like project-based learning, like workshop, ways where student voice, peer-to-peer learning is really the driving factor. Mm-hmm. So that's why a lot of teachers got uncomfortable, because it's like, if you don't convince them that you can allow them to teach each other, which is where they learn the most from, then you're losing. It's like with basketball, you know, when you school, like you give Maurice some game, right? You giving Maurice the game, you know he's going to be able to give it to Pat and Jas and Jonas, like in a way in game where you could never get if you're just yelling from the sideline, you know what I'm saying? So that's the exponential peer-to-peer co-creative.
Fire. That's what thank you.
Say less, man. I know what you mean. You know what I mean? Yeah, I got a gem I want to leave us with. I really do believe what I said in the gold paper, that like people are creating new nations. And there's a lot of people who are tooled up right now with a lot of good energy and a lot of good, and they're looking for people who are in education to help them out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll give you a good example. I don't have the exact details. It's still developing, but there will be a lot of companies, a lot of groups or whatever, making moves to Africa. I would say the Gambia is going to boom. Cameroon, Kane is going to boom. A lot of nations in Africa are going to boom. And it's going to be a lot of companies. I think Twitter just opened up an office. Bad example for a company, but still, you get the size of it. And so they're going to be, all of those people are going to want education on the ground. They're going to want, okay, so who's going to teach our kids? You know, who's going to create a learning environment that's not just like, oh, the American school in Rabat. Like, who's going to create that school that fuses the cultures? Who could do that even? It's only one group of people that could actually do that.
No, not fire.
You know what I mean? Got tool up for that. They tooled up. They spent this whole great meditation, 2020, 2021, they've been grinding. They ain't even paid attention to the news cycle. Mm-hmm. You know what time it is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a fact.
Yeah, that's my gem.
All right. Yo, D, you got a gem so we go before you wrap up?
I don't this week, but next week, man. It's always listening to perspective on education. So that'll be my gem, I guess. Always keep learning, growing, and don't be afraid to act. No.
Well, I appreciate it, fellas. As always, one love.
Respect.
All right.
Respect.
Good.